In today's video, you'll discover the rarest Jefferson nickels ever made, the hidden mint errors that most people overlook, and the exact details that can turn a common coin into a life-changing fortune. Don't blink. You might already own one. Have you ever paid for a cup of coffee with a nickel without giving it a second thought? Most people do. They see 5 cents and nothing more. But collectors see something entirely different. They see history, rarity, and sometimes a life-changing opportunity. Imagine spending a single nickel that could be worth as much as $765,000 simply because you didn't know what to look for. That is exactly why today's story matters. Hidden among ordinary pocket change is one of the most fascinating Jefferson Nickels collectors continue to search for, the 1974 no-mint mark Monticello Thomas Jefferson Nickel. Before you dismiss the loose change sitting in your wallet, your car's cup holder, or that old coin jar collecting dust on a shelf, stay with me, because the next few minutes might completely change the way you look at every nickel you own. Every day, millions of Americans receive nickels in change and immediately spend them again. They never stop to examine the tiny details that separate an ordinary coin from an extraordinary one. Collectors understand that the smallest differences can create astonishing value. A tiny minting mistake, an unusual strike, a rare die variety. These details can transform a common-looking coin into one of the most sought-after treasures in modern numismatics. And that is exactly what makes the 1974 Jefferson Nickel such an intriguing mystery. Before we dive into the rare varieties, let's understand the coin itself. The Jefferson Nickel has been part of American history since 1938. Designed by Felix Schlag, the obverse proudly features Thomas Jefferson, while the reverse displays his famous Virginia estate, Monticello. By 1974, billions of Jefferson nickels had already entered circulation, making them appear incredibly common. Because of that enormous production, almost everyone assumes every 1974 nickel is worth only 5 cents. Ironically, that belief is exactly what allows rare examples to hide in plain sight. Now here's where things become fascinating. A 1974 Jefferson nickel without a mint mark was produced at the Philadelphia Mint. During that era, Philadelphia coins typically carried no mint mark, so seeing a blank space beside Jefferson's portrait was perfectly normal. However, within that massive production, a handful of extraordinary error coins escaped into circulation, creating excitement among advanced collectors decades later. Here's something that surprises even experienced collectors. The value is not created simply because the coin lacks a mint mark. The missing mint mark is completely normal for Philadelphia in 1974. Instead, collectors hunt for extraordinary minting errors combined with exceptional preservation. That distinction is incredibly important because thousands of people mistakenly believe every 1974 Philadelphia nickel is valuable. The truth is that only a tiny fraction possesses the characteristics capable of attracting serious auction attention. One of the most desirable features is a dramatic double die. During the die-making process, if the design is impressed more than once at slightly different angles, noticeable doubling can appear on the lettering or Jefferson's portrait. Strong doubling may be visible in the words, "In God we trust," "Liberty," or even parts of the date. Under proper magnification, these double details become remarkably clear. Collectors prize these varieties because they represent genuine mistakes made before the coins were even struck. Another highly desirable error is an off-center strike. Imagine the blank coin planchet entering the striking chamber slightly misaligned. Instead of receiving a perfectly centered design, part of the coin remains blank while another section displays the design shifted noticeably toward one side. When the date remains fully visible and the off-center percentage falls within an attractive range, collectors often compete aggressively for these unusual pieces. Then there are broad strikes. Normally, a retaining collar surrounds the coin during striking, giving it its perfect circular shape. If that collar fails to function correctly, the metal spreads farther than intended, producing a wider coin with distorted edges. These dramatic errors instantly capture attention because they look visibly different from ordinary nickels. Die cracks also deserve serious attention. Over time, enormous striking pressure causes dies to develop fractures. Those cracks transfer raised lines onto the finished coins. While small die cracks are relatively common, extensive and dramatic examples become much more collectible, especially when combined with additional minting anomalies. Perhaps the most exciting errors involve clipped planchets. Before striking, blank discs are punched from large metal sheets. Occasionally, the cutting process overlaps, leaving part of a future coin missing. Once struck, the finished nickel displays a distinctive curved clip that immediately confirms something unusual occurred during production. Here's a question for you. When was the last time you actually examined the nickels in your pocket? Most people never have. Pause for just a moment and think about that old jar of coins sitting somewhere in your house. What if one of those forgotten nickels has been waiting decades for someone to notice its hidden rarity? Beyond obvious minting errors, professional grading plays an enormous role in determining value. A coin graded mint state 65, mint state 66, or even higher by respected grading companies becomes dramatically more desirable. These grades indicate that the coin survived with exceptional surfaces, minimal contact marks, and outstanding eye appeal. High-grade examples become increasingly scarce because most 1974 nickels entered everyday circulation almost immediately after leaving the mint. One feature advanced collectors love to discuss is full steps. On the reverse of the Jefferson nickel, Monticello displays several small steps leading to the entrance. Weak strikes often blur these steps together. Coins displaying 5 or 6 sharply defined, uninterrupted steps receive special recognition. Full steps examples are significantly scarcer and can command impressive premiums even without dramatic minting errors. Now imagine combining full steps with a spectacular double die or another significant mint error. Suddenly, you're no longer looking at an ordinary Jefferson nickel. You're looking at a coin capable of generating tremendous excitement whenever it appears on the market. Attention reset. If you have a handful of old nickels nearby, don't wait until the video ends. Take them out later today and inspect each one carefully. The few minutes you spend could prove far more rewarding than scrolling endlessly through your phone, so how could a nickel possibly approach a value as astonishing as $765,000? The answer lies in an extraordinary combination of factors: extreme rarity, exceptional preservation, significant minting errors, strong collector demand, historical importance, and perhaps most importantly, competitive bidding between determined collectors. In the auction world, prices are driven by passion as much as rarity. When multiple advanced collectors believe they may never see another comparable example, bidding can accelerate far beyond initial expectations. It's important to understand that the headline figure of $765,000 represents an extraordinary scenario involving an exceptionally rare example with remarkable characteristics and outstanding certification. The overwhelming majority of 1974 Philadelphia nickels are worth only face value or modest collector premiums. But history has repeatedly shown that exceptional error coins in elite condition can achieve astonishing prices because they are unlike anything most collectors will ever encounter. That possibility is exactly what keeps collectors searching. Every roll of nickels becomes a treasure hunt. Every estate sale becomes an opportunity. Every forgotten piggy bank becomes a potential source of hidden wealth. Think about how many nickels have passed through your hands over the years. Hundreds? Thousands? Maybe tens of thousands. What if one remarkable coin slipped through unnoticed because nobody recognized the tiny details that separated it from every other nickel? The coin market has changed dramatically over the last decade. Online auctions, grading services, and growing public interest have brought unprecedented attention to rare American coins. Stories of valuable pocket change spread rapidly, inspiring new collectors to search their own collections. Increased awareness often creates even stronger demand for genuinely scarce examples, especially those with dramatic mint errors. Here's something worth remembering. Patience consistently rewards successful collectors. They don't rush. They don't guess. They study. They compare. They learn how genuine errors differ from ordinary circulation damage. They understand that knowledge often becomes more valuable than luck. Attention reset. Let me ask you something. If someone handed you a nickel worth hundreds of thousands of dollars today, would you recognize it? Or would you spend it without a second thought? That simple question has motivated countless collectors to begin learning the fascinating world of American coin varieties. Another common mistake involves confusing post-mint damage with genuine mint errors. Scratches, dents, corrosion, grinding, and environmental damage occur after a coin enters circulation. These flaws usually reduce value rather than increase it. Genuine mint errors originate during the manufacturing process itself. Understanding that difference separates informed collectors from hopeful guessers. Professional authentication remains one of the most important steps for any potentially valuable coin. Experienced grading experts examine microscopic details, verify authenticity, identify legitimate mint errors, and assign accurate condition grades. Their evaluation gives buyers confidence and often determines whether a coin attracts serious competitive bidding. Attention reset. Before you throw your spare change into another drawer tonight, remember that history has repeatedly surprised collectors. Extraordinary discoveries often come from the most ordinary places. A kitchen drawer, a family inheritance, an old coffee can filled with forgotten coins. Treasure rarely announces itself. The story of the 1974 no-mint mark Jefferson Nickel reminds us of something much larger than money. Value often hides where nobody expects it. Most people overlook opportunities because they appear ordinary at first glance. Collectors understand that extraordinary rewards belong to those willing to pay attention to the smallest details. As demand for rare American era coins continues growing, exceptional Jefferson Nickels remain firmly on collectors' watch lists. Whether your own 1974 nickel ultimately proves to be worth 5 cents or something far more significant, taking the time to examine it costs almost nothing and could teach you lessons that last a lifetime. The next time you receive a nickel and change, don't rush to spend it. Turn it over. Study Jefferson's portrait. Examine the date. Inspect the lettering. Look closely at Monticello's steps. Search for doubling, unusual strikes, clipped planchets, die cracks, or other remarkable characteristics. That careful habit may someday reward you in ways you never imagined. And remember, today's hidden treasure might not even be the rarest coin still circulating. In our next episode, we'll uncover another ultra-rare American coin that has stunned collectors with astonishing auction results and incredible hidden varieties. You won't want to miss it, because the next life-changing discovery could already be hiding in your pocket right now. What if the next nickel you spend on a cup of coffee is actually worth far more than the car in your driveway? It sounds unbelievable, but history has repeatedly proven that ordinary-looking coins can become extraordinary treasures when the right combination of rarity, condition, and minting errors comes together. Every single day, millions of Americans unknowingly spend coins that collectors spend years trying to find. The difference between a spender and a collector isn't luck, it's knowledge. And today, we're diving into one of the most talked about modern Jefferson Nickels, the 2014 Monticello Thomas Jefferson Nickel. Some extraordinary examples with dramatic minting errors and exceptional preservation have generated incredible excitement among collectors, with speculative claims sometimes reaching values as high as $897,000. Before you dismiss the nickel sitting in your pocket, you may want to take a closer look, because this tiny 5-cent coin could tell a story few people ever notice. The Jefferson Nickel has been part of American history since 1938, carrying the familiar portrait of Thomas Jefferson on the front and his beloved Monticello estate on the reverse. While billions have been struck over the decades, not every nickel leaves the mint exactly the way it was intended. Small mistakes made during the minting process can transform an ordinary coin into something collectors desperately pursue. The Denver Mint, identified by the small D mint mark, produced hundreds of millions of Jefferson Nickels in 2014. Most are worth only face value. But hidden among those millions are a handful of fascinating error coins that have captured the attention of the numismatic community. Here's something most people never think about. Every coin begins as a plain metal blank before passing through enormous presses that strike both sides with tremendous pressure. When everything works perfectly, the result is an ordinary circulation coin. But when even one tiny part of that process goes wrong, history can be created in a fraction of a second. That is exactly why experienced collectors inspect every detail under magnification instead of simply looking at the date. Before we go any further, here's a quick challenge. If you have a jar of spare change somewhere in your house, think about it for a moment. How many nickels are sitting there untouched? Hundreds? Maybe thousands? Imagine discovering that one overlooked coin among them has characteristics collectors have been searching for. That's why knowledgeable collectors never ignore pocket change. Point: one of the most desirable characteristics involves dramatic off-center strikes. During production, if the blank shifts before being struck, part of the design may be missing while the date and mint mark remain visible. Collectors value these coins because each error is unique. No two off-center strikes are identical, making every surviving example its own piece of minting history. Another highly respected error is the doubled die. Unlike ordinary wear or machine doubling, a genuine doubled die occurs during the creation of the working die itself. This can produce noticeable doubling in Jefferson's profile, the lettering, or design details around Monticello. Strong double dies are carefully authenticated because they represent a genuine production variety rather than damage after the coin leaves the mint. Then there are die cracks and retained die breaks. As minting dies wear down after striking countless coins, stress fractures begin to develop. These cracks leave raised lines across the finished coin. While many minor die cracks add only modest value, dramatic examples that become major retained breaks can attract serious collector attention, particularly when combined with outstanding condition. Another fascinating possibility involves die clashes. A die clash occurs when the obverse and reverse dies strike each other without a planchet between them. This accidental collision transfers faint design elements from one die onto the other. Future coins struck by those damaged dies may display mysterious outlines that were never intended to appear. To the average person, these marks look like imperfections. To an experienced collector, they can represent an exciting discovery. Now here's something that surprises many new collectors. Sometimes the greatest value isn't created by the error alone. Instead, it's the combination of a significant mint error and an exceptionally high preservation grade. Modern coins rarely survive in flawless condition because they immediately enter circulation, picking up scratches, contact marks, and wear. Finding a major error coin that also grades at the very top of the grading scale is incredibly difficult. Professional grading services carefully examine every surface under magnification before assigning a numerical grade. A tiny difference between mint state 66 and mint state 68 can mean thousands of dollars in value on the right coin. That level of precision is exactly why serious collectors never clean their coins. Even gentle cleaning can permanently damage the original surfaces and dramatically reduce collector demand. Here's another question for you. Have you ever received shiny new nickels directly from a bankroll and spent them without looking? Most people have. Yet some of the finest modern discoveries have come directly from unopened bankrolls searched by dedicated collectors who understand exactly what they're looking for. The 2014 Jefferson Nickel occupies an interesting place in modern collecting. While the regular issue is common, exceptional mint errors are far from ordinary. Because error coins are created accidentally, no official record exists showing exactly how many escaped into circulation. That uncertainty creates excitement. Somewhere, perhaps in a forgotten piggy bank or an old dresser drawer, an undiscovered example may still be waiting. The market for dramatic error coins has grown significantly over the past decade. Social media, online auctions, and educational videos have introduced millions of people to the hobby. More collectors competing for the same scarce material naturally increases demand. When collectors recognize an unusual error with exceptional eye appeal, bidding can become surprisingly competitive. Of course, it's important to separate realistic market values from sensational headlines. Many online stories mention extraordinary prices approaching $897,000 for rare modern coins. Such figures represent exceptional scenarios involving unique combinations of rarity, major mint errors, elite condition, and intense collector competition. The vast majority of 2014 Jefferson Nickels remain worth only 5 cents. That's why authentication by a respected grading service is essential before assuming any extraordinary value. Still, the possibility keeps collectors searching. Every remarkable discovery began with someone taking a second look instead of assuming an ordinary coin had no importance. That's one of the greatest lessons in numismatics. Hidden wealth often hides in plain sight. Let's pause for one more challenge. If someone handed you $20 in nickels right now, would you spend them or inspect every single one? Most viewers watching this video already know the answer. The treasure hunter inside you would probably reach for a magnifying glass before heading to the checkout counter. Beyond the errors themselves, experienced collectors study strike quality, luster, surface preservation, and overall eye appeal. A sharply struck Monticello building with crisp architectural details, bright original mint luster, and minimal contact marks immediately stands out from ordinary circulation pieces. Those subtle characteristics often separate premium examples from average ones. Another overlooked factor is population rarity. Professional grading companies publish census reports showing how many examples exist in each grade. If only a handful of top-grade error coins have ever been certified, competition becomes intense whenever one appears at public auction. Scarcity fuels demand, and demand ultimately determines market value. Auction history has repeatedly demonstrated that collectors are willing to pay astonishing amounts for coins they believe may never appear again for years. Wealthy collectors often compete not only for investment purposes but also for the prestige of owning an important numismatic rarity. When multiple determined bidders pursue the same certified coin, prices can rise far beyond expectations. This growing enthusiasm isn't limited to longtime experts. Younger investors have entered the hobby searching for tangible assets with historical significance. Unlike stocks displayed on a computer screen, rare coins can be held, studied, and passed from one generation to the next. That emotional connection gives numismatics a timeless appeal few investments can match. Perhaps the most fascinating part of the story is that discoveries continue to happen. Every year, collectors identify overlooked varieties and newly recognized errors hiding in ordinary circulation. Technology has improved, collector education has expanded, and information spreads faster than ever before. What was once ignored can suddenly become one of the hobby's hottest discoveries. Imagine opening an old family coin collection inherited decades ago. Mixed among ordinary nickels sits a bright 2014 Jefferson Nickel with an unusual strike, remarkable surfaces, and a feature you've never noticed before. One careful inspection by a professional expert could completely change your understanding of that coin. Whether it turns out to be worth 5 cents or far more, that possibility keeps the excitement alive. That's why experienced collectors always recommend patience, careful observation, and proper authentication. Never clean a potentially valuable coin. Store it safely, handle it by the edges. Have you ever paid for a cup of coffee with a handful of nickels without giving them a second glance? Most people do. They spend them, forget them, and move on. But a collector sees something completely different. Hidden among ordinary pocket change could be a coin that tells an extraordinary story. Imagine discovering that a single 5-cent coin sitting in your change jar could be connected to one of the most talked about modern Jefferson nickels ever discussed by collectors. While not every rare-looking nickel is worth a fortune, certain examples with exceptional minting errors, pristine condition, and strong collector demand have sold for astonishing prices. Today, we're taking a closer look at the fascinating 2006 Monticello Thomas Jefferson Nickel, a coin that has sparked excitement throughout the numismatic community. Before you spend another nickel, you may want to listen carefully, because the next coin you overlook could become the discovery every collector dreams about. The story begins in Philadelphia during 2006. Millions of Jefferson nickels rolled off the presses carrying the familiar P mint mark. Most entered circulation and lived ordinary lives in cash registers, vending machines, and coin jars across America. Yet hidden among these countless ordinary coins were a handful of extraordinary pieces that escaped the mint with dramatic production mistakes. Those unusual coins transformed from simple pocket change into prized collectibles almost overnight. This is exactly why experienced collectors inspect every coin instead of assuming every nickel has the same value. The Jefferson nickel has always held a special place in American coin collecting. Introduced in 1938, it honors Thomas Jefferson on the obverse while featuring his historic home, Monticello, on the reverse. Although the design briefly changed during the Westward Journey series, the classic Monticello reverse returned in 2006. That return made the 2006 Monticello nickel historically significant because it marked the revival of one of America's most recognizable coin designs. Collectors immediately appreciated its connection to tradition, but few realized that some examples would later gain attention because of remarkable minting abnormalities. Now here's something you should do right now. If you have a coin jar sitting on a shelf, a drawer filled with loose change, or even a forgotten piggy bank, take a mental note to check it after this video. You'd be surprised how many valuable coins are discovered in places people stopped looking years ago. Hidden treasure rarely announces itself. Let's talk about what separates an ordinary 2006 Jefferson nickel from one that excites serious collectors. The first characteristic is condition. Professional grading services evaluate coins on a numerical scale, and tiny differences in preservation can create enormous differences in value. A nickel with blazing original luster, razor-sharp details, and virtually no contact marks will always attract more attention than a heavily circulated example. High mint state grades are difficult to achieve because even freshly minted coins often receive small scratches during transportation. The second characteristic involves mint errors. These are accidental mistakes that occur during the manufacturing process, and they are among the most fascinating areas of modern coin collecting. One highly desirable error is a dramatic off-center strike. Instead of the design appearing perfectly centered, part of the image shifts noticeably toward one edge. If the date and mint mark remain visible while a significant portion of the design is missing, collector demand can increase dramatically. Another exciting error involves double dies. During the creation of the coin's working dies, slight misalignment can produce visible doubling on letters, numbers, or design elements. Under magnification, collectors may notice extra thickness on inscriptions like Liberty, Indiana God We Trust, or the date. Genuine double die varieties are carefully authenticated because they can command substantial premiums compared with normal examples. Then there are die cracks and retained die breaks. These occur after repeated use weakens a die, allowing cracks to develop before the mint replaces it. The resulting raised lines appearing across the coin become permanent features of every coin struck afterward. While minor die cracks are relatively common, dramatic examples stretching across Monticello or Jefferson's portrait often generate considerable collector interest. Another unusual possibility is a struck through error. Imagine a small piece of grease, cloth fiber, or debris becoming trapped between the die and the coin blank during striking. The result is an area where part of the design appears weak or completely missing. Every struck through error is unique because the obstruction differs each time, making these coins especially interesting to collectors searching for one-of-a-kind pieces. Now let me ask you something. When was the last time you actually looked closely at the mint mark on a nickel? Most people never do. Yet that tiny letter beneath the date can completely change the collecting story. It's remarkable how something so small can spark such enormous excitement in the numismatic world. The Philadelphia Mint has produced billions of coins, but quality control isn't perfect. High-speed production occasionally allows unusual errors to escape inspection. Those rare survivors become accidental collectibles, preserving a brief moment when the manufacturing process produced something completely unexpected. That's part of the magic of error coins. They're not supposed to exist, yet somehow they do. Collectors also search for full-step Jefferson Nickels. On the reverse, Monticello features a staircase leading to its entrance. When every step appears fully defined without interruptions, grading services may award the coveted full steps designation. Achieving this level of detail is surprisingly difficult because even tiny imperfections during striking can weaken the staircase. A high-grade 2006 nickel with full steps often enjoys stronger collector demand than a similar coin lacking that designation. Here's another attention reset. Think about the last handful of change you received at a grocery store. Did you toss it into your pocket without looking? Chances are you did. That's exactly why remarkable coins continue appearing in circulation. Most people simply aren't paying attention. Over the past several years, collector demand for modern era coins has continued growing. More people have discovered that valuable coins aren't limited to the 19th century or early 20th century. Modern coins with spectacular errors, exceptional preservation, and certified authenticity have become increasingly competitive at auctions. This growing interest has encouraged collectors to re-examine coins they once considered too common to matter. You may have seen headlines claiming that certain Jefferson Nickels are worth hundreds of thousands or even millions of dollars. These stories often combine the value of exceptionally rare, one-of-a-kind specimens with ordinary circulating coins, creating unrealistic expectations. In reality, a typical 2006 Jefferson nickel found in circulation is usually worth only face value unless it possesses outstanding condition, a recognized error, or another highly desirable characteristic. However, unique mint errors authenticated by leading grading services have achieved remarkable auction results, proving that extraordinary discoveries remain possible. Some discussions in the collector community have even suggested hypothetical values approaching $777,000 for an absolutely extraordinary example combining multiple rare characteristics: elite preservation, exceptional eye appeal, and overwhelming collector demand. While such figures represent exceptional scenarios rather than ordinary market prices, they demonstrate the excitement surrounding truly unique numismatic discoveries. Every serious collector understands that rarity, authentication, and market demand determine value, not simply the date printed on the coin. Authentication is absolutely essential. Counterfeit error coins and altered pieces unfortunately exist. Professional grading companies examine strike characteristics, metal composition, surface quality, and genuine minting diagnostics before assigning grades and certifying authenticity. Without professional authentication, extraordinary value claims become much harder to support in today's marketplace. Here's something many beginners overlook. Cleaning a coin almost always reduces its collector value. A shiny surface created by polishing might look attractive to the untrained eye, but experienced collectors prefer untouched original surfaces. Even a potentially valuable nickel can lose significant appeal if improper cleaning leaves hairline scratches or removes its natural finish. If you believe you've found something unusual, store it safely and avoid attempting to improve its appearance. Imagine opening an old family coin collection inherited decades ago. Most people expect nothing more than sentimental memories. But every so often, collectors discover forgotten treasures hiding among ordinary-looking coins. Stories like these fuel the passion of numismatics because they remind us that remarkable finds can happen anywhere. Inside old albums, dresser drawers, inherited collections, estate sales, or even the loose change resting in a car's cup holder. The market for certified modern errors continues evolving as new collectors enter the hobby. Online auctions, specialized dealers, and major coin shows have created opportunities for exceptional coins to reach buyers around the world. Increased visibility means that truly outstanding examples can attract competitive bidding from multiple collectors determined to own a unique piece